Let's take a look at adding a click event. So I have a component in here called item. I have 3 of them actually with different names. So it's using the same logic. We're simply replacing the name. And in here, we're using that prop. This is from our last lesson. Now, what happens if you click on, let's say, this H1? Now, that's sort of a terrible example, but this is going to really drive home the idea that there can be a click event. And so how click events work, or how most events work, is it actually uses old school HTML, which we haven't seen in a long time. So one way of writing a function is onClick is equal to, and then you can put some JavaScript or JavaScript function in here. Now, a lot of places don't teach us anymore because it's really, really old school, but React leverages this very, very heavily. So to create an onClick event, we say onClick, and then we give it some sort of value. We're just going to delete that for now, and I'm going to come back to that in just a second. We need to give it some sort of method, some sort of action. So let's create a new function in here called clickMe. And all this is going to say is console log I was clicked. And then back to the onClick here. We put this in mustache syntax or curly braces, and we can say arrow function run this dot click me as a function. Now this looks a little bit weird at first, but you'll get used to it, I promise. So we have this opening curly brace, is this weird curly syntax here, and this is saying everything between here is going to be JavaScript. It's going to be React. The rest of this looks a lot like HTML. But hey, React, when you go to compile this, this is going to be JavaScript, just so you know. So when you click something, there's going to be some sort of event, and it's going to then execute this.clickMe. And this is object-oriented programming. And every time we click this, it's going to console log I was clicked. So let's go ahead, save that. It looked like it compiled fine. And if I go in here, right-click, inspect, go into my console, and let's just make this significantly bigger. If I click on Gully, it says I was clicked, Rhubarb says I was clicked, and Caleb says I was clicked. Now, what's cool about this is because every component is its own piece of code, basically. So Gully is going to get his own click event, Rhubarb gets his own click event, and I get my own click event. So what we can say now is I was clicked, and let's put this, let's put a second parameter in here that says this.props.name. And it's going to say I clicked, and then just the name. So let's go ahead and take a look. It says that it refreshed. Let's just clear our console there. And let's click this. I clicked Gully. I clicked Rhubarb. I clicked Caleb. So now we can perform some sort of logic based on that. We can say, hey, if you clicked on Rhubarb, print this was an orange cat. Or if you click on Gully, console log something else. Or if you click on Caleb, say that this is not a cat. We can perform some sort of logic based on that property name and a click event. So what I would like you to do as your task is I want you to add an onClick event with a click function and simply console log the property that is being passed into your property from the last lesson. So now we're getting a little more advanced here. And to break this down just once more, we're saying onClick is equal to curly brace. That's how we know it's going to be JavaScript and React inside of this. Function is going to then execute this, which is this entire component, .clickMe with parentheses, because that matches here. That's then going to be executed, and you can console log anything you like in there. It can be just a regular string, or you can console log your props.name. You can console log anything. You can create an API request if you wanted to, which we'll get to down the road. You can really do anything at this point in time because this is just regular JavaScript. So now you've combined your HTML with an onClick event connecting to your JavaScript in React. Go ahead and give this a shot. Spend a few good minutes on this. And remember, if you ever run into a problem, so let's say there was a typo in here, we could save this, it's going to compile perfectly fine. But when we test this, let's refresh the page, we test this, it simply doesn't work. So you want to make sure that your code is always working. And if you wanted to see this break, this will give you some sort of error. Watch this. Type error cannot read property props of undefined. So it's telling you there's some sort of problem in here. And that's because this is a property, not a method. This is acting like a variable, not a function. So anytime you run into an issue, you can always just read through, oh, it went away, but you can read through the error and it will likely give you an idea of what's going on. It's not perfect, but it'll give you a good idea of what's going on and how to fix it.